The NFL free agency frenzy is over. So now everyone thinks they can rank every NFL team. But not everybody knows what they're talking about. So that's where I come in. I play the judge. I play the jury. And I play the executioner today for Nick Wright. Is he right or is he Nick wrong? I'm talking about his new NFL Team Tiers, his post-free agency NFL Team Tiers. So without further ado, allow me to judge and potentially execute this video. Gronk, spike the like button, get in the comments, and let me know if you want a video from me ranking all 32 NFL teams like only the Bottom Line View can do, in depth, in style. Let me know in the comments, and subscribe. Don't be a jabroni. Let's talk Nick Wright Team Tiers. Let's go. Okay, Saint Nick. I hope you got some gifts for me. Let's go.
Invoice in the mail. Bottom of the tiers, post free agency, and just crushed the draft.
I'm going to react and then see what he has to say. Because typically he doesn't spend too much time on each team, and I want to give each team my initial reaction and hear his rebuttal. Okay? So first, the Patriots stand out. That's my team, obviously. You guys know. Crazy to have the Patriots on the bottom tier. I think even a hater would say the Patriots got way better this offseason, way better this free agency, because their defense on paper now, especially with what they have coaching them compared to last year, could be a top 5 unit in football. I mean, it was 2 years ago, and many of the players are still there. Coaching makes a big difference. But what I love about what the Patriots did defensively, it's a simple concept. Not only did they spend money on good football players, but they force multiplied every good player on their defense. Think about it. Christian Gonzalez, number 1 corner. You bring in Carlton Davis, another number 1 corner to be your CB2. All of a sudden, you have a top 3 corner combination in football. Maybe the best, right? Right there with the Texans, in my opinion. Okay? Then you have Keon White on the edge. Power rusher, good run defender, can slip him inside to rush the passer. You add Harold Landry, an awesome run defender, a veteran 10-plus sack established guy, and on the other side with White, you've got an upside rusher. Okay? Landry, been in the system in Tennessee, a leader, a grinder. Okay? Milton Williams, you might have heard of him, Nick, because he sacked your boy, my homeboy, multiple times in the Super Bowl, tracking him down with ease. He was the most coveted name in free agency. He and Christian Barmore, if healthy, might be the best defensive tackle duo in the entire NFL. It's at least in the discussion. Plus, you add Robert Spillane. And I know you don't know this because you don't know Robert Spillane like I do. Top 20 linebacker in the sport. He's actually very comparable to Nick Bolton. He just doesn't wear a Chief helmet and a Chief jersey, but in my opinion, last year, probably a better player, right? People look at Nick Bolton as this almighty, but really, Robert Spillane has been a dog the last 2 years. Him alongside Jawan Bentley, force multiplier. Even a Marcus Epps as a third safety is a huge upgrade. Mac Hollins, who mossed Trent McDuffie in the AFC Championship, also on the Patriots, wearing no footwear. So yes, the Patriots are much better than the bottom tier because not only did they get a top 5, top 10 defense, but they also have a great coach, an awesome offensive coordinator who's going to complement a young ascending quarterback who could be top 10 next year. They added a veteran right tackle, a veteran center. I like those pieces. And then also you bring in Doug Marrone on the O-line, an established head coach in his own right, a great offensive line coach, that's going to elevate that weak unit as well. So they still have the draft to add a potential receiver, a left tackle, but now you look at the rest of the roster, there's not a lot of needs, and you've got a quarterback that is dangerously coming up the ranks. So that is a team that is just absolutely ripe to break out. And I know it's my favorite team, but it's pretty obvious, okay? The Carolina Panthers, I could see why they would be here because they didn't make any huge additions in the offseason, but I personally listed them as a winner this free agency because I thought they added about 4 or 5 players, including Tershawn Wharton of the Chiefs, your Chiefs there, Nick, that help their defense and I think make it go from embarrassing to formidable. And then the offense, I think Bryce can still ascend this year. They have a good offensive line. I like Canales as the play caller in the offensive mind. They got 2 good running backs now. Rico Dowdle gets plugged in there. So I think the Panthers are actually maybe the second best team in their division. And I don't see the Falcons on this bottom tier. So I don't really know why people think the Falcons are so much better than the Saints or the Panthers. Somebody answer that question. I don't have much to say about the Saints, but I will say when Derek Carr was healthy last year with his receivers, they were much better than people think. I'm a little bit worried about the defense. The Giants, I think I am not worried about the defense. I'm worried about quarterback. If the Giants get a quarterback, I think they're actually an interesting team because that defense all of a sudden with a Debo, Holland to complement what they already have in the back end, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, those guys up front, I think that defense is pretty talented. Honestly, if they get a quarterback, they have the left tackle, they have the young running back, they have the young talented tight end, they've got the 2 outside receivers, speed Darius Slayton, number 1 Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson in the slot. I mean, I think they're underrated, honestly. It comes down to the quarterback, so I understand why they're there if it's solely based on quarterback play. The Cleveland Browns, I kind of agree just because they have Kenny Pickett starting at quarterback, but the defense is pretty damn sweet with Myles Garrett back there, and their secondary we know is pretty good. They had to release a couple veterans. They do have a pretty decent offense, though, surrounding the quarterback that's unknown. But yeah, with Kenny Pickett, I mean, you can't really say that they're a good team. And then the Tennessee Titans, yeah, I agree. Cam Ward probably is going to be their quarterback at this point, so I'm basically plugging him in. They did upgrade the offensive line, but at what cost? But it will make them better this year. I don't think they have a great receiving core. They actually lost Nick Westbrook-Akine. I like their running backs. I think their tight end's athletic. Their defense, pretty solid. I don't think it will be as good as last year. I agree with most of this list, Nick. I just think the Patriots are kind of egregious. Giants could move up if they have a quarterback. Panthers are interesting, though.
It's the only path. Listen, these teams had different approaches in free agency. None of them changed their life in free agency. I know the Patriots effectively got people to take their money. Whether that was effectively spent, I don't know. But
does this guy know that, like, Milton Williams is really good, that Carlton Davis is really good? Carlton Davis beat his ass in a Super Bowl, too, so I don't know what he's talking about. Does he not know that these players are really good? Like, what is effectively taking their money? You know what I'm saying? Did he want us to pay DeAndre Hopkins?
It's going to be about for these teams, how well they draft, not just in the first round, but throughout. Next level.
See, this is why I go first, because he doesn't say anything. Reset year. Seattle Seahawks is interesting because I think when you look at their team, all they really need to do in the draft is they need to add offensive line. Maybe 1 corner. But they could also just add that in the summer, right? They could bring in a Stephon Gilmore and round out their room of cornerbacks, right? Because you look at their defense, and I think it could be top 10 this year. Mike McDonald's a great coach on that side of the ball. And they brought in DeMarcus Lawrence. They have Leonard Williams. Byron Murphy's a young stud. Devin Witherspoon's the very same. Reek Woolen, Julian Love, Ernest Jones is back. I like the edge rushers, right? But I don't love them, I would say. But overall, I feel like that is a defense right there with great coaching that can be very, very good from the start because they were very much adapting kind of plugging and playing certain players to find what their niche was, what they would fit, what they wouldn't fit in the system last year. And it wasn't working for most of the year. And then by the end of the year, they started to incline and get a lot better and go on a little bit of a run. So I think Seattle is going to be defense led. The offense, I like the coordinator change for Kubiak there. I think Darnold fits that coordinator. I'm concerned about the protection, but I like Jackson Smith and Jigba. I love Kenneth Walker. I think he'll have a huge year in this offense. I feel like Cooper Kupp's fine as a 2, and then I like MVS being added too. So I feel like Seattle is better than a reset year team. The one team that stands out here is the Jets. The Jets are just flat out terrible. I don't know how the Jets are above the Patriots. I don't know how the Jets are above the Panthers. I don't know how the Jets are the best team in New York. I mean, the Jets defense is decent, but you're undergoing an entirely different scheme. So you're totally shifting your scheme now. So that's going to take shape. You lost DJ Reed. You lost CJ Mosley. You lost multiple pieces on the depth of the defensive line, right? And you also, you're kind of like undergoing an identity shift, a culture shift. I'm not a fan of Aaron Glenn personally, but some may disagree. As a head coach, I think as a defensive coordinator, he's okay. And then Justin Fields is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Their O-line's still kind of in shambles. They lost Morgan Moses. Wide receiving core, they lost Devontae Adams. I'm not sure how the Jets are anywhere but a bottom 5 team. I don't know how anyone could sell me how Drake May's team is below Justin Fields' team. I can't buy it. I'm sorry. Seattle, I disagree. They should be higher. Jets, I disagree. They should be lower. The Colts, I think that's fair to a certain degree. But honestly, I like the Colts roster, kind of like the Giants. They don't have a quarterback. So I could buy the Colts being on either one of these tiers. Honestly, I think the Colts just have a very low ceiling, though. Like the Patriots and the Colts, the ceiling for each team is like the Patriots are much higher, in my opinion, just because of Drake May. The Atlanta Falcons, I could see a ceiling argument due to Michael Penix, but I don't love the defense. I think it's awful. They don't have a pass rush. They don't have multiple corners that you can rely on. Their safeties are a little weak. I don't get the Falcons at all. I hate their coach. I think he sucks. Terrible clock management, terrible defense. Then you look at the offense, I love Bijan. He's a great player. Love Drake London, great player. Kyle Pitts is whatever. I'm surprised he hasn't been traded yet. Darnell Mooney's good. I've always liked him, but I just feel like the Falcons are at most mid. I don't see it with them. Unless Penix totally blows me away. So if you wanted to put the Falcons in reset year, that's fine. If that's your argument, if you love Michael Penix. But I don't know how the Falcons, the Jets and the Colts are so much better than the Patriots, so much better than even the Panthers, even the Saints. I mean, honestly, let's be fair. Derek Carr is way better than Justin Fields. Derek Carr is way better than Anthony Richardson. Derek Carr for now is better than Michael Penix. I can understand why Kenny Pickett's on the bottom tier. I can understand why Tommy DeVito's on the bottom tier. I can understand why Cam Ward, even if you're going with Will Levis, is on the bottom tier.
Reset year. Seahawks just out of nowhere, just you know what, let's tear it all down.
Yes, they said that, but at the same time, they tore it back up.
I'm not saying they're wrong, but it surprised me that they were doing it. The Jets said, Aaron, please go away. We'll take $49 million dead money, sign Justin Fields. We want to start a new culture. The Colts figuring out if they have the quarterback, and the Falcons, after pretending last year they were going to compete with, or thinking they were going to compete with Kirk Cousins, now they're okay, Michael Penix, true rookie season. It's a reset year for all of them. Got to earn your $50 million.
Cardinals, Jags, and Dolphins. See, I think, honestly, bro, Patriots will be a better team this year than the Cardinals. You can call me biased. I don't care. Patriots should be a better team than Jacksonville. I'd be disappointed if they weren't, but Jacksonville's in a much easier division, so that's fair. Trevor Lawrence is overrated, but I do think he has a chance to be better with Liam Cohen. I'm not impressed by what Jacksonville did this offseason. I don't think that they did much to really improve so far. I just think they kind of made adjustments, swapping players, if that makes sense. They lost Christian Kirk. They added De'Ami Brown. They lost Mitch Morse. They added Robert Hainsey. They lost Brandon Scherf. They added Patrick McCarry. They lost Ronald Darby. They added Jordan Lewis. You understand what I'm saying? They basically swapped players out. Then they just released Evan Ingram. So if anything, they kind of got a little worse in my opinion. But I do like their coach, so that helps. Miami, I think they're a little thin, especially defensively. I think their offense is good, but their offensive line is kind of on like its last legs, which is concerning. But they've got great skill players and a solid quarterback. So I could understand why Miami is there. Like, I think Miami and New England, like right now, are on the same tier. Like, I think that's the tier where Miami, New England, I could buy Jacksonville, I could buy Arizona in that same tier. I would put Seattle in that tier as well. Like, maybe you're just strictly going off the title of like, I don't know. It shouldn't be that way, but you got to earn your $50 million. Like, none of those guys are truly going to earn that $50 million. None of them are worth it.
Ish. That's Trevor, that's Kyler, that's Tua.
Yeah.
And because none of these three teams have rosters that can carry mediocre quarterback play. All of these rosters, though, are competent enough, in my opinion, if you get excellent quarterback play.
I would agree with that. I think the worst roster... Jacksonville? It's debatable. Jacksonville, Arizona. I think Miami's is a little bit better than the others.
You can really compete. Got to go earn it. Now, Kyler, to be fair, doesn't make quite 50, but you guys understand what I mean. You got to earn that top-of-the-market contract that all three of you guys got.
Kyler will be really interesting this year because he's fully healthy entering this season. So there's a chance that he has a big bounce-back sort of deal.
Lowest form of conversation. It's one of my favorite lines.
Yeah.
Lowest form of conversation. Does that mean lowest form of contender? Niners, Cowboys, Steelers. Well, Steelers don't have a quarterback right now, so that's a really difficult one to figure out. I don't know if he thinks it's going to be Aaron Rodgers or what, but the Steelers, to give them a fair point, I mean, it doesn't feel like it matters who their quarterback is yearly, and they still win 9 games. But that being said, I think the Niners are miscast here. I would have the Niners a bit above those two teams. Despite the losses on defense, I just think their offense is still awesome. And Kyle is just so much better than those, like, 99% of coaches in football. Robert Saleh also being the defensive coach. I just think the Niners are going to be one of the best, most well-rounded coach teams in the league. I also low-key like what they've done so far with, like, adding to their special teams. Because one of the areas where they really struggled last year was special teams. They were the worst special teams in the league. They still got to cut their kicker. But I feel like the Niners are truly understanding that they've kind of got to retool and rebuild, sort of like Buffalo last year. But I think they're being savvy about it. And truly, this is a team that after the draft, you'll be able to look at and be like, they're a lot better than they were 2 weeks ago. Because, like, they've got 12 draft picks. That's the most in the draft. So that's really going to help them. But the Niners still got so many stars that if they have a pretty good draft, all of a sudden they're in the darn divisional round, right? So that's where, I don't know. The Cowboys, their roster is okay. I just don't know if I buy, like, first year of a new coach. What is Dak at this point? The O-line is like the worst on paper it's been for Dak Prescott. They have one good receiver who's awesome, but that's all they have. They don't have a running back yet. Their defense feels like they've lost some pieces up front, but I like their corners. I like Parsons. You know, I like certain players there, but I feel like Dallas is kind of like a mid team. And I feel the same way with Pittsburgh. While with the Niners, like, I think you could view them as mid, but at the same time, they just feel like they have a wider spectrum of outcomes because they have such a high octane attack and they have such a great coach. So to me, like, I don't know. I'd have the Niners hired. Cowboys and Steelers are about fair, in my opinion. Honestly, like, Cowboys Steelers could even be alongside Miami in that other tier, to be fair. But Pittsburgh did stack up if they can find a quarterback. The question is, if they have no quarterback, it doesn't really matter. I mean, their roster is actually better than last year after free agency. DK Metcalf, Darius Slay, Juan Thornhill today. Like,
from Tony Soprano.
I'm glad we're not on here, but we're actually lower.
Remember when?
Yeah.
Get together with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Man, His last 5 years, pretty good, isn't it?
What a run.
Jerry Jones walks in the room. He's like, last 5? What? Let me tell you about 30 years ago. The Rooneys walk in the room. They're like, 30? Let me tell you about the 70s. That's when it was really great. All these teams are just coasting off what they once were.
So good.
And none of them are competing for anything this season. The same neighborhood.
Okay, this one I disagree with. The Raiders are not... I love the Raiders. Go Raiders, right? Silver and black. The Raiders are not better than the Niners. Let's be objective, okay? The Raiders are probably on paper not better than the Cowboys either, or the Steelers. Like, I'd have the Raiders in tiers below. I'd have the Raiders with that reset year type deal. Right now, I mean, I feel like with a good draft, they could move up the list because they do have a quarterback, but they have a lot of holes. Like, you look at that. This is just how I know Nick Wright does not look at our lads. Like, they have no corners. They have no linebackers. They have no safeties. Like, they have one safety. Like, they have nothing, bro. Like, okay, I like the O-line. I like Jacoby. I like Bowers. I like Geno. I like the coaching staff. I like the D-line. But there's a lot of elements that need to be fixed in Las Vegas. That team is way too high on this list. Cincinnati and Denver, they should be higher because Cincinnati has arguably the best passing offense in football, and I don't care. Their defense will be a little bit better this year because honestly, it's impossible to be worse. And the Denver Broncos have an awesome all-around defense. They have a really good coaching staff on both sides of the ball. They have one of the best coaches of all time, and they have a young ascending quarterback that might be better this year, might not be, but he'll probably have more help, which matters. So the Broncos, I think, should be higher. The Bengals should be higher. I think both those teams could make the playoffs this year. So I would probably have them higher.
Listen, Bengals, I know you don't love who's moved in next to you, but this is the neighborhood you live in now, through your own doing. Stop mowing the lawn, didn't take care of the roof, and all of a sudden, it's like, what the hell? We're with the Raiders and Bo Nix, you are. But Joe Burrow lives here, he does. He's a beautiful Lambo in the driveway, but the gutters are falling off the house because nobody pays for anything around there. And the Raiders, shout out to you.
To be fair, this was before the T. Higgins, Jamar Chase thing, so for him to say they don't pay for anything, he's now wrong, but that's okay.
For getting into this neighborhood, trade for Geno Smith, all of a sudden you're making moves, and shout out to the Broncos. I do like what the Broncos did defensively in free agency. I think
I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see who's above them because, like, it feels like Broncos, Bengals, they should definitely be higher to me. Maybe he's just hating on the Bengals.
when Afanga's healthy, he's awesome. And Dre Greenlaw, I worry about his ability. Both those guys, I worry about their ability to stay healthy. But if you get healthy versions of Greenlaw and Afanga, those are excellent up the middle of your defensive players. Where can the quarterback take us?
This tier is fair. Chargers, Texans, Vikings, Bucks, and Bears. Bears is a projection, obviously, but you look at the roster and it's hard to argue against it. It really is. They've got, in theory, 2 really good receivers. Right now, 1. I'm not sure if Rome Odunze is the dude. Solid tight end. Offensive line, huge upgrade. Defensive line, upgraded. Linebackers are good. Corners are good. 1 all-star corner, right? 1 really good safety. So the Bears with Ben Johnson, with Dennis Allen, should be a good staff on paper. It's a bit of a projection. I could see why someone would maybe have them a little lower, but I'm fine with it. It depends on Caleb, though, because Caleb last year was not anywhere in the Baker discussion, okay? And Baker's next to him, and I just feel like the Bucks are disrespected. Like, they didn't lose anyone, basically, this offseason. They're the same team. They actually just added Hassan Reddick, essentially, so they got a little bit better on defense. And yeah, I guess they lost Liam Cohen, but they have an entire draft to improve upon the roster they had last year. Plus, by the end of the year, they didn't have Christopher Godwin, who matters. Patriots were going to spend $30 million a year on him. So the Bucks, I just feel, are disrespected just in general, but I don't disagree with their placement. The Texans have the best defense in the league on paper, in my opinion. I love Stroud when he's at his best. The O-line needs a lot of help in the draft. We'll see what they do. But Christian Kirk, Nico Collins, eventually Tank Dell is a pretty nice receiving core. Dalton Schultz, Joe Mixon. They've got pieces around the O-line. It's really like the Texans right now are the best team in their division. But if they had a decent offensive line, they would be an AFC championship caliber team. They would be that good, in my opinion. But the O-line is so bad that it holds them back completely. The Vikings, they're a bit of a wild card because of JJ, but their roster is loaded. The only area they need to improve is secondary. D-line's better. Linebackers are good, underrated. Offensive line is much better with Kelly and Fries, and Darrisaw's back. Got a good tight end, got 2 good receivers, great receivers, arguably. They've got 2 good running backs now, right? So, and they've got one of the best staffs in the league. So the Vikings could even be a little higher depending on your perspective of JJ. I tend to agree with him because I'm kind of half in, half out with JJ. And the Chargers, I think the Chargers are the same tier as the Broncos. I don't know how you would put them above them necessarily. They got embarrassed in the playoffs just like the Broncos by a worse team. Herbert is better than Nick's, but the Broncos have better coaching in my opinion. I know that the Chargers have good coaching, but I don't think Harbaugh is Sean Payton. And I think both offensive lines are good. I think the Broncos is a little bit better last year. I think that the Broncos have better receivers. I think the Broncos have a better defense. So I actually think the Broncos are a little bit better than the Chargers, despite the Chargers having a better quarterback. But that's just my opinion. I could see after the draft, the Chargers maybe being a bit better. But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with this tier. I just kind of wanted to break down those teams for you guys.
This is similar to the Earn Your $50 Million tier, but not quite. So you have Herbert, Stroud, JJ, Baker, and Caleb. All 5 of these teams expect to be in the playoffs next year. All 5 of these teams expect to be able to win a playoff game next year.
I don't know about Chicago, but okay.
All 5 of these teams have quarterbacks that they have either invested in via draft pick or via contract, or in the Vikings case, via eschewing Sam Darnold.
I don't know about JJ. I mean, yeah, they picked him, but I mean, okay, he's just trying to make something happen here.
And the question is, have we made the right decision there? I don't think there's really a question that they make the right decision in Houston. You guys understand. But that's where they're at. Their season will hinge on that right now. Better with age, question mark. Commanders,
Packers are way too high on this list. I just noticed that. Packers they just frustrate me. I like the Packers, but I don't get what they've done. Like, Nate Hobbs I like, Banks is mid, overpaid. The O-line is good. Wasn't the problem last year. Like, you guys need pass rushers. You need corners. You need a wide receiver 1. Not addressed. You're not going to address all of it in the draft with a 20s draft pick. It's just not going to happen. Jordan Love, to me, too, he's above average probably, or a little bit. Maybe he's probably average, honestly. He's probably around like 14 through 17 if we're being fair, right? He's probably average. They got a great running game, a very good head coach. I thought the defensive coordinator improved their defense, but looming question about Jair. And with that question, the secondary is depleted and their pass defense is just bad. So I don't know. Packers would be far. I think the Packers are closer to the Niners than they are to the Vikings or the Commanders. The Commanders, he's saying better with age. The Commanders aren't that young. They're actually quite old. Jaden Daniels is young, but most of their best players are old if you actually look at their roster. So that's part of what helped them win last year. I do think they've made improvements. I do think they've declined in some areas. I think the defensive line's a little bit worse, but they added a lot of depth I think their secondary with Jonathan Jones a little bit better, or their corner position. Their safeties are a little suspect right now. Their defense is still a looming question. It's still not great. But Dan Quinn's putting the pressure on him. The offense is better. Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil. The question is, should they have put the resources in offense after what was such a great year last year? Maybe they should have put more money into the defense. But that's just my question.
Packers. I don't think either one of these teams, I understand the Commanders got Deebo Samuel. I'm not going to act like these teams didn't do anything in free agency. But their real improvement, I think they are planning on coming from their young players improving. I do like the Commanders adding Laramie Tunsil, so credit to them for that. But mostly it's going to be our young rosters, particularly with Green Bay, getting better, and that's how
Yeah, we've been waiting for the Packers for years. It feels like years.
they are going to get a step better than they were last year in Green Bay's case. Or
Because the Packers actually got worse last year.
the Commanders, for being totally honest, they would be thrilled if they get to the exact same place they were last year. Like, back-to-back conference championship losses, sign us up. Make or break year. So here.
Wow, the Rams are high. So the Rams are weird, right? Because people look at the Rams in a funny way. They won 10 games last year. They won 10 games. And they lost in a divisional round. And I understand that in that game, they looked the best of any opponent that the Eagles faced. But they won 10 games. And they beat a faltering Vikings team that's kind of known for choking. So putting it into perspective a little bit. Now, I do think the Rams did get better with Devontae Adams and Poona Ford, but they didn't make a lot of improvements. I think the defense is overrated. I like the pass rush, but I don't like the rest of the defense. I think the offense is good, but I actually kind of feel like Sean McVay has lost his fastball to a certain degree. Like, their offense has been good lately, but not great. He's not really hitting on all cylinders, and he's still got Stafford playing at a really high level, and Puka Nacua. So the Rams, I just think they're getting a little bit too much hype. I understand it. I just feel like it's a little... I need to see this draft, because I think that people are kind of overlooking that they were good, but not great last year. The Lions, I agree. I actually think the Lions are kind of being slept on, because people forget that they lost so many players last year during the season. Like, they didn't have Aiden Hutchinson. You know what I'm saying? Like, that makes a big difference. Aiden Hutchinson, okay? One of the best defensive players in the league. And I'm a little bit scared of banking on them this year, because they lost so many coaches, including Ben Johnson. But their offense is so talented, and their defense should be better on paper. I'm not even really that concerned about the defense. It's more so just the Ben Johnson factor, to where if their offense does fall a little bit, it will cause their entire team to kind of lose its identity. So I'm a little concerned about that, especially in a really difficult division. But the Lions are very talented, and they're very good at the line of scrimmage. So I think the Lions and the Commanders and the Rams are kind of in that same tier in the NFC, with maybe the Vikings too. But I don't know if I would separate all these teams. The Packers would be more so alongside the Bucks and the Texans and the Chargers. The Broncos, I'd move to that tier, and the Bengals, I'd move to that tier. The Niners, I'd move up, right? The Raiders, I'd move down. But yeah, this is kind of interesting how he's stacking this up.
Here's what I mean. I think this is probably the last hurrah for Stafford McVay as contenders, because I don't know.
I agree.
Not because they're necessarily moving on from Stafford after this year. I know they just got something worked out with him, but I don't know if he has many more elite years left. The Lions, you might say, what are you talking about? I don't know if the Lions can emotionally sustain another year where it's like, we're going to the Super Bowl without actually getting there. 2 years ago, I don't think they had those expectations going in, but when you have 17-point lead in the conference championship game, you do. Last year, when everyone's hanging point differential banners and talking about they're the new standard in the NFL, to then lose your first playoff game, tough. I really like these two teams as far as respect them. But I have one question. How'd you get better?
The Ravens, they got a little better at receiver. They didn't really get better. I'm not going to even argue. Offensive line's probably a little worse. Receivers a little better. Defense is the same. But they were already, by the end of the year, you could argue they were playing the best football in the NFL. And they just played a sloppy game and they lost. Buffalo did get better. I don't know what you're smoking, but they definitely got better. Wide receiver got a little bit better. Offense was already good. Defense, their D-line got a lot better. They added 4 pieces to their defensive line, including Joey Bosa. And they added Larry Ogunjobi, Mike Hoyt. They also added a safety in Forrest, who's underrated. So I would say their defense got a little bit better. And they've got a whole draft. Meanwhile, there's a team that's above them on this list that definitely got worse. So I'm willing to hear about that one. Considering that the Bills lost to that team on a very suspect call late in the game.
How'd you get better?
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins.
How'd you get better? You got Joey Bosa to replace Von Miller. You got one injured aging pass rusher to replace another one. I understand both of these.
Dive a little deeper.
They're not incredibly young teams, so it's not like the Packers. You didn't spend a bunch in free agency. You're not going to have this surplus of draft picks. Like, I understand folks like to pretend you have been the 2 best teams, just gotten incredibly unlucky every single year against the same team in the playoffs. But how'd you get better? 0 obvious weaknesses.
Okay, let's go through the 0 obvious weaknesses. All right, quarterback. Running back, offensive line, defensive line, safety, the coach when you put a burger in front of his face, Super Bowl hangover. Okay, but seriously, most of those were true. Offensive line, big glaring need at left guard. Left tackle, interesting signing. Not sure if he's good or not. We'll see. Lost Joseph Tooney. Travis Kelce is slower than me, running backwards. Wide receiving core is probably better with Rashee Rice, right? Over D-Hop, I guess. Running back, probably about the same. Elijah Mitchell was added. Kareem Hunt's probably not going to be the same player as last year. Pacheco might be a little bit better. Defensively, they lost a bunch of defensive tackles. Their D-line is not good. Like, it's just not. They've got 2 good players. Their linebacking core is the same. Their safeties, they lost Justin Reed, one of their best defensive players. So, just Justin Reed and Joe Tooney alone, you got worse, in my opinion. So, for the Chiefs, 0 weaknesses is crazy. I would argue the Bills are definitely better than the Chiefs. Based on, I think they got a little bit better. They were both basically the same team last year. Like, they were basically equivalent at the end of the day. So I would probably put the Bills just slightly above, including the fact that the Chiefs are going to have the Super Bowl hangover thing, where the team that loses the Super Bowl usually does wear down, especially a team that's been to 3 straight Super Bowls. 3 straight, right? So probably a little bit of wear and tear on that Chiefs team too.
So listen, it's not the top of the tiers, but it is true. There's not a place on the Chiefs right now you can look at and be like, oh, that's going to be their Achilles heel. I do like the fact that they got the player a lot of people are calling Trent Williams 2.0. I'm just telling you, it's what a lot of people are saying, on a good contract. And that they go into this draft because they have 0 obvious weaknesses with the ability to just simply take best player available, not like, gosh darn it, we have to draft the tackle even if he's the 60th player on our board. The champs, but weakened.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The Eagles they're probably this first team. They're probably the top team. If you guys want me to rank all the teams, I'll reconsider, but I think they're probably the top team, but I agree that they got worse. I mean, you lose Milton Williams, although apparently it doesn't matter on these tiers. Josh Sweat, right? You lose him. You lose Darius Slay. You lose Oren Burks. You lose Mekhi Becton. Some losses. Now, they did try to replace some of them. They did kind of try to beef up the edge position more by volume. They'll have a whole draft. So I think by the end of the draft, there'll be a relatively similar roster, but they did lose Kellen Moore too. That's also something. I think just by the nature of you won the Super Bowl last year, you'll probably be not as good, but you'll still be elite. So the Eagles are the safest choice at number 1 for sure. There is no team that really you would say, oh, they're the best team, like over the Eagles. So especially not the Chiefs. So I'll end it here. You guys let me know what you think of his tiers. Do you like him? Do you hate him? Let me know. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Gronk, spike the like button. Deuces.